Hail Internet, I am Lord VikingBeard. Welcome to Xeodrifter, a short but challenging homage to Super Metroid. You play an interstellar drifter travelling through space when suddenly a giant comet smashes into your ship, knocking out the warp core, leaving you stranded in a small sector flanked by 4 small planets. You must search the planets for new equipment and abilities in order to find a replacement warp core and get out of Dodge. And so you will fly from planet to planet, fighting monsters, solving platform puzzles and defeating bosses to become ever more powerful and ever more capable. Power-ups are fairly varied, with cool abilities such as jumping into the background at will to bypass obstacles and find collectibles, although this does require a hole in the background wall. It's a classic formula, and Xeodrifter does a great job of making progression fun and swift, unlocking new content at a blinding pace. This is partially due to the game's short length, that will see you through to completion in 2 to 3 hours, maybe more if you are bad at game. There is also an interesting weapon upgrade system that is unfortunately kind of pointless, as the only things worth putting points into are shot number and power. A pity, as there is some potential to the system. With 3 slots for different loadouts, it's clear some thought was put into it with a hope that players would experiment, but there is simply no good reason to. Controls are by and large solid, although there were moments where I felt my input wasn't being recognised, particularly in boss fights, but this was very rare and may have simply been me getting used to the controls. Talking of boss fights, I say fights, there is only one. The same creature design repeated about 7 times was increasingly cheap attacks and a progressively very steep difficulty with each encounter, making for some pretty annoying fights. And it's not just the bosses that lack variety, there are a dozen or so different enemy types that you will meet many of the same types in every single stage, making for some wearying familiarity across the stages that could have been remedied slightly with the palette swaps so liberally applied across the bosses. So the biggest letdown with Xeodrifter is the lack of variety. For such a tiny game, it's shocking how much is recycled and reused. This may help to explain the game's overall polish, but that doesn't help detract from seeing many of the same things over and over. And that's without mentioning the game is also heavily reliant on backtracking, making you go through massive chunks of previously explored areas 2, 3 or more times to gather all the collectibles. All these things really smack of major corner cutting, and without the reuse of content there's probably 30 or 40 minutes of game here. You can get Xeodrifter for $6.99 on Steam. I really liked what there is of Xeodrifter. There is the makings of a phenomenal game in there, but what is there feels almost like a demo. As such, I cannot recommend Xeodrifter at full price. However, get it on sale and there is some decent fun to be had, and perhaps some replay value if you enjoy a good speedrun. Tiny but polished to a mirror shine, but if your mirror is the size of a stamp, you aren't going to use it to sculpt your mighty beard. Farewell, and thanks for watching.